Hey fellas, well, have another gaming video for you all. I would have addressed this a couple weeks ago, but for fairly obvious reasons, it got pushed back to just now. So let's talk about how the first Night City Wire stream for the highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077 Heaven, which will be CD Projekt Red's adaptation of the tabletop RPG, much how their previous hit, The Witcher, was an adaptation of the fantasy novel series, and with that series wouldn't be a big hit, especially given the Wild Hunt expansion of The Witcher 3 and the Netflix show of that. Anticipation is high, to say the least, and I'm among them. Yeah, even as someone who has not played or seen that much of The Witcher, or my brother's into it. I do understand its appeal at least. And so I definitely think that that they're the right developer to handle something like this. And I really like what they're saying is that's whereas like immersion in the game's universe is being the next logical step from realism and advancing the player experience. And it's like being like a first-person action RPG. Of sorts. Or it's building on what they learned, not only from the Witcher series, but also how their entire experience developing, and 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 given how this also is also led off with a new trailer, known as The Gig, which details more of the mission structure, as does more how the gameplay shown off here. I actually really like how, even though they're still showing a lot from fairly early on in the story, just how much is the attention to detail there is in everything from the setting to how you can customize your avatar, are known only as V, or their title Samurai. Why I'm using that particular pronoun is how much attention to detail there is that you can even and customize your character's package if you're so inclined. On top of, yes, this being like another significant step forward of how closely someone can customize their character, their physical appearance, as well as their attributes. I can only imagine what this will inspire, given on how mimetic Geralt's man spread was in the bathtub in Witcher 3. Again, I may have not played that game, but I'm well aware that memes was how it even made it into the show with Henry Cavill doing that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah. Visually, of course, it's spectacular. I can definitely see this title, when it finally launches this November, pushing in the current consoles to their limits and definitely making a good argument for the next generation. I'm not planning on getting either of the new ones right away, but I definitely like the idea, like the smart delivery. So if you get it on Xbox One, you will not have to rebuy it if you get a Series X. As for on Sony consoles, that's to be determined, but all the same, I definitely think this definitely will be the big title that bridges the gap between this generation of consoles and the next one, so to speak. I even like how the apartment complex where your character lives would be almost like its own kind of say like environment in and of itself. Which to be fair makes sense for what the world they're trying to convey. And of course, I can already tell based on what I've seen so far, it's going to be most likely M-rated as all get out. not just in its frank depiction of the themes and the content, but also a lot of such matter that younger players probably wouldn't find fun either. I mean, but I also like how even though they do indeed show how how characters often routinely get shot, stabbed, and cut out with the mantis blades, and even having their minds fried, that's. I also like how some missions actually, they early on may even require you to take a more pacifist approach where obviously you could only go a potential genocide route if you had more experience and weapons on you, but sometimes it might be safer to just try and just take the money and add an intermediary from like a private backer. Since I mean, yeah, and of course, I really like how still impressed has of how things have progressed so far in just as so short time alone that we've gone from having to pre-render her cutscenes to actually being able to use them with the same in-game graphics engine, and which actually makes things more seamless a transition. And I appreciate that quality, and if you ask, but still at the end of the day, if you ask me what I personally want out of this title, I will respond for it to be good. I mean, I mean, I'm really also really glad how even no matter what edition I would be getting, they'd still be including a lot of the stuff like the soundtrack album and also the manual for the original tabletop game, which I have not played. Also, even reissuing that, so definitely shows a commitment to world building and all the details in there as well. And the brain dance may not be a concept I'm familiar with, but it looks like it'll be a fascinating way to who so it's like I definitely know I'll probably be designing my avatar to be not that different from myself. I like whenever I can, I try to make all of my digital ones extension of my personality and appearance real life. And on that note, I'm thinking one of the skills I might choose is like with the linguistic skill. When you're dealing with the all these people that come from different places, it's going to be very useful, and especially if things go south. Since the prologue, what we've seen so far is that you're basically going to have to work your way back up. And since I really like the inclusion of Johnny Silverhand, who Keanu Reeves' character, who's like a rock star who's been missing, presumed dead, and apparently appears in V's mind's eye. But still, a little over 20 years after The Matrix, Keanu Reeves still was able to pull off like that mind-bending cyberpunk adventure in black. I'm not sure how this fourth movie is gonna go, but we'll see. I'm still gonna be looking at the sequel as well as the animators before that, hopefully. And that's all I've got to say about this presentation for now. Now, definitely we'll have more to bring you over the next few days as we close out the first half of this year here, and how it's been a very crazy start to this decade. So that'll be all for now. Take care.